day 2 of testimony in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial. The prosecution's star witness, Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, is expected to take the stand today. So far, the jury has heard graphic and very disturbing details from a man who says he was paid to have sex with Cassie Ventura. He also testified that he witnessed the music mogul assault her on 2 separate occasions. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges.
So let's go live now to CNN anchor and chief legal analyst Laura Coates right outside that courthouse in New York. Laura, so tell us more about when Ventura will take the stand. That is really such a big focus for today.
She will take the stand any moment now. She is the very next witness up. We are waiting to hear what might be explosive testimony from Cassie Ventura, the linchpin of the prosecution's case. Remember, we were told by the defense yesterday, this is the first time in 6.5 years since the death of the mother of 4 of Sean Diddy Combs' children, Kim Porter, tragically died of pneumonia, that the 2 of them will be in the same room face to face. The defense called it a moment to witness closure. What we will witness, though, is testimony where she will try to bridge the gap over an 11-year period of what the prosecution has described as abuse and violence and coercion and intimidation, all to have her engage in these so-called freak-offs, days-long drug-fueled sex encounters without consent. But just now in the courtroom, I witnessed something truly interesting. They are arguing as we speak with the judge over whether Cassie Ventura's husband can be in the audience. Cassie Ventura has just taken the stand. You're going to watch, and we will see in just a moment, Cassie Ventura, visibly pregnant, due in less than a month or so, confronted face to face with Sean Diddy Combs, her boyfriend and lover of more than a decade. The first time they'll be together. Now, they want to make sure that her husband could not be in the courtroom. The defense is saying they may call Mr. Fine, who, remember, is a physical trainer who Diddy hired to actually train Cassie Ventura.
Laura, I want to let you go because the government is calling Cassie Ventura to the stand, so you got to get back in there. Thank you, Laura.
I will be your eyes and ears. We'll be right back. Thanks.
I know you will be. All right, and we're joined now by CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Elliot Williams and entertainment attorney and former litigator Lisa Bonner. All right, so Cassie Ventura is about to take the stand. Why is she so crucial to the prosecution's case?
Right, again, and Laura touched on this a little bit. It's important to step back and remember what Sean Combs is charged with here. It's racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation of people. Now, it's far broader than simply these allegations of sexual abuse or physical abuse. Now, what Cassie Ventura, what the prosecution's hopes to establish with her is not just that the abuse happened, but that it happened for the purpose of threatening, coercing, or forcing people, her and others, into forced sexual activity. And in fact, the video that we saw yesterday allegedly happened immediately before or in the process of one of these quote-unquote freak-offs, suggesting that this beating was to keep her there and coerce her there.
So, Lisa, to bring you in, what do you think the defense strategy will be when cross-examining Ventura? And we should also note, and this seems important, and we've been talking about this, she's pregnant. She's, I believe, several months pregnant. So how will that also play into the cross-examining, do you think, Lisa?
Well, they are going to try to establish that she was a willing participant, that she knowingly engaged into this relationship with Combs. It is no secret in the entertainment industry, in the music industry, that Cassie Ventura did not have the strongest voice, and she did not have a lot of other options in terms of signing a recording contract. So they're going to say that, listen, you went after Combs. You went and tried to establish a sexual relationship for the benefit of furthering your music career. Now, it is also important to remember that Cassie is visibly pregnant. Her husband, they want her husband in the courtroom to show that she is now moved past that she is in a loving relationship, and that is possible only because that she is now in a consensual and healthy relationship. But one of the things that they're also going to try to prove is that she was, consenting and that she stayed in this relationship. But one thing I have not heard people talk about is the Stockholm syndrome, where the victims often identify with their abusers, right? So it happens a lot in child abuse cases. So they're going to try and say that she consented. It's important to say, no, what did the defendant do to make her feel like that she could not leave the relationship?
So we're getting more information now coming in from our reporters who were inside the courtroom. They're not allowing, this is a federal trial, so there's no video or audio live coverage allowed, but we're getting reports from our reporters inside. And under questioning from the prosecution, Cassie Ventura said some arguments between her and Combs would be violent and result in, quote, some sort of physical abuse. What do you make of that?
Well, again, the domestic violence, the defense has owned it. They have set that out, and they are trying to say, listen, we are not here to litigate a domestic violence case. This is turning on consent. In any sexual relationship, consent is explicit. She did not, at what point did she no longer consent to being in this relationship? How did Combs, how did he use his influence, his sphere of influence, to manipulate her, to blackmail her into staying? He paid all of her bills. She never put out another record after the first record that he was released, and that was a carrot that he continuously dangled in front of her face to try and get her and manipulate her into staying. Again, this was through his business, and that is what the prosecution has to hone in on and really have people to testify to that there was not consent, and that he did use people under his employ to facilitate this relationship.
Elliot, I want to bring you in on this point that Combs arrived in court yesterday holding a Bible. He was seen reading passages during opening statements. Why does the defense want the jury to see that?
Oh, absolutely. Now, the court, the whole process is designed around giving the defendant a fair trial. That's how the judge rules. Now, both parties are doing things to ensure that their side of the case looks better, and it is in a defendant's interest to be seen reading the Bible. This happens all throughout trials. So, for instance, can the defendant come in wearing a prison jumpsuit? This was something that they debated prior to the trial. Can he have dyed hair? As you notice, some of the courtroom drawings have noticed, his hair's dyed. How does that change how the jury sees him and how they may regard the things he says? There was even a fight or a debate over, can the jury see Cassie Ventura walking into the courtroom because she is 7 or 8 months pregnant right now? How will that affect how the jury regards her testimony? And judges are constantly having to resolve questions like this. Now, nothing precludes a defendant from reading a Bible. There's nothing wrong with it, but certainly it was a deliberate choice, I think it's fair to say, by the defense team to have jurors see this person who's accused of horrific acts reading a Bible.
And I just want to go back to you, Lisa, because, and I want to make clear, this idea that the government is pushing the prosecution, that Combs was using his own enterprises and businesses to further the scheme. Those are all allegations from the government. And the defense is saying that's not true. The defense is saying, look, he may have engaged in bad behavior. He may have engaged in domestic abuse. That video is really disturbing from the hotel. But he was not part of this racketeering scheme. He is not a sex trafficker, and he should not be found guilty on that. Do you think that that's a compelling argument for the jury?
Well, what else does the defense have to really offer? The fact that, one, they've already owned the domestic violence, and so that is something that they have already owned. But the other allegations against Combs in terms of the RICO charge, we have R. Kelly, who was convicted just across the river in the Eastern District of New York of very similar RICO charges. And so what they are, again, alleging is the fact that he used his businesses to lure people into a recording contract in Cassie Ventura's case, and then basically held that over her head in terms of a carrot, and never released another album after her initial single that was released. And they are alleging, again, that this was done against her will. The defense really does not have any other alternative except to own this and to say, no, that this was a legitimate business. But it's important also to remember that a RICO case does not have to, the criminal enterprise does not have to exist solely for the purposes of a company. It could be a part of the company. And so that is important to remember in all of these allegations in terms of RICO. They need to establish that it is a conspiracy, that he used his company to lure these people. And these are very damning allegations.
Right, and we're just reading some of what's coming in from the courtroom. And at one part, and this sort of goes to your point earlier, Lisa, she said, look, I was confused. I loved him. I just wanted to make him happy. I was nervous, all of those feelings. And we don't have the full context around that. But of course, we know prior to that, they were talking about the relationship and the alleged violence that occurred there. All right, Lisa Bonner, Elliot Williams, thank you so much.